Good evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery. He's getting this close to the diffuser.
All you got to do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side coming into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Well, good evening, race fans, and welcome to another night of action with some Division 1 racing. This is our Season 10 Round 3 at Paul Ricard, and we are in for an epic race tonight with some super high-speed, sweeping corners, guaranteed to give us some side-by-side, door-banging action as these drivers go head-to-head. It's getting more intense as we get into Round 3 here, as we approach looking at the drop points for some of the first two races and where it's going to place people. Maxie, welcome to the booth tonight. Glad to have you with us. And what do you think we're going to see out there this evening?
You know, it's one of the defining characteristics of this track is the ability to go off track and have no harm done to your race. Is that going to lead to track cuts and drive-through penalties? We'll see. The big thing I'm going to be watching for is if anybody can take it to Michael Manning this season. He won the practice race last night by almost 15 seconds. He's won both races this season. Last time out in Centerton, he absolutely killed it. But a great battle that I want to keep a focus on during the race tonight is the silver battle. We have three McLarens that are in third place, fourth place, and fifth place that are all right on top of each other points wise. And the gap to first and second place there is also rather small. So let's see what those guys can get done here at Paul Ricard tonight.
Fantastic action coming our way for sure. Let's take a look at our track map. And here we are, as we mentioned, at Paul Ricard. Big story tonight. This is a night race, so we will be checking the cars out in darkness under the lights, although there aren't a ton of actual track lights here. There's some lighting along the side of the track, but you are quite dependent on your car's headlights here as you make your way around this French track here, about 5.7 kilometers around, just over 3.5 miles, making your way through 13 different very challenging corners. Quite an array of different driving styles needed for the various corners on this track. Lots of sweeping corners. There's also some very tight hairpins as well that have to know where you can use curbs, know where you shouldn't, and know where it's best to try to keep the speed up or just brake hard and really turn in tight to be able to get a good exit onto some very long straightaways where we'll see many overtaking opportunities. Obviously, biggest thing this track's probably known for is the infamous straight there that is extremely long going into turn 8, and turn 8 extremely high speed as well. Trying to overtake through turn 8, you got to have some very large attachments, let's just say, to think you're gonna go side by side into that corner. But we know these D1 drivers, and we know that they won't hesitate to do it. Maxie, what are your thoughts on the track this evening?
Yeah, so I'll just keep going here with turn 8 scene corner, and it's guaranteed to give us a scene tonight. During the practice race, like you just alluded to, there was people going 2 wide, 3 wide at some points through there. Being able to trust the guy on your left or right through there is going to be paramount tonight. But we also saw quite a few wrecks through there. Cars are naturally going to wash wide in that corner, so having somebody on your outside, it's going to be a gamble for sure. But the overtaking spot I'm going to look for tonight is coming out of turn 1. If you can get your exit right there, you're going to have significantly more speed than the guy in front of you down to turn 5, or excuse me, turn 3. And I think that's where the majority of overtaking is going to get done tonight. It's the safest place on the track to do it. And then it gives you the big, long straight to pull them off.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we will have plenty of opportunity to see these D1 drivers go to door to door. But before that, we have just a few people to thank. Maxie, who are you thankful for?
First and foremost, everybody watching at home tonight, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And a huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documize, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documize.com to learn more about their offerings today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. So enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca.
That's right. That's right. And we also can't forget to thank a big thank you goes out to our affiliate sponsors. Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use our code SRATE SRATE at checkout to support us. Armentario, a toolbox for ACC that'll enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced heads-up display to change the way you experience ACC. And finally, a big thank you to Go Setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link in our Discord and take your drive to the next level. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to looking at some driver standings here as the silver drivers get out to do their warm-up laps. As we talked about, Manning out front big time. Now, keep in mind, the points we're looking at here is with the drop race already applied. So what's fascinating about that, Maxie and I were just talking about before we began the broadcast, is the drop race for Manning is 111 points. So it makes it look a lot closer between the top 3 than it really is. Manning could not start a race and still be pretty far out front with those 2 wins. And that also puts Alvarado, who did not race last week, still holds him in second place because the drop race takes away that 0 point. So the standings may look a little bit confusing from that aspect, but this will be kind of how it breaks down after the drop race is applied, which everybody gets 1 drop race throughout our 8 race season. So pick your favorite driver out of the lineup there as we switch to page 2 here and get a look at some of the people further down. And obviously, some of these guys looking to make up ground this evening. I know Brooker Quigg would love to get in on the action after his pit stop debacle last week. Apparently, he did not get the memo that we had to change tires until much, much too late. I know
another 2 minutes to go, if I recall correctly.
And I know Fazli Majid also had a poor race last weekend and is still sitting with 0 points. He would love to improve. Eric Boardman, another fantastic driver in the silver division. And Louis Dribbs, a lot of these guys could move up at any time, so be watching for their names tonight. And also, the team standings here. Maxie, what do you think of the team standings?
I think it's still way too early to start speculating here, but they're in first place. Mr. Sir is also incredibly quick this season. Nordstrom was able to hold him off the entire race last time out at Snetterton. So, I'm not sure anybody can take it to their team this season. I really don't see anybody else being able to compete with their pace this season.
I agree with you.
As far as the rest of the grid goes,
yeah,
very tight.
Very, very tight, and it will be difficult to compete with the BMW's speed and their driving ability combined. It is a very tall order to take it to either one of them. There's your team standings, folks. With that, let's get to the action as these guys are beginning their hot laps in our silver division.
All right, you think we're going to get down into the 151s tonight?
Well, we will find out. Looking out on track right now, we are checking out Majid Fazli, who had a bad race last weekend, is hoping to make up for it, and hopefully he's already out there setting down a fast lap. So I wouldn't bet against getting into the 51s. Let's put it that way, Maxie.
Yeah, I think in the practice race last night, Manning put in a mid 52-second lap. So I'm sure he's keeping a little in the bag for tonight.
I know in race trim, which I'm sure a majority of these guys, they care more about this race, so they run full race fuel, even though the practice race is half the distance. I know 2 or 3 laps in, maybe not even, yeah, it must have only been the second lap, and he laid down a 153.5, so pretty full fuel, and he was already pushing some pretty quick pace around this track. So I think these drivers can capitalize on the lighter fuel loads, especially the long straightaways. The car gets out of the corner a lot better, can get up to the top speed much quicker. We could see some very, very quick times. We already have Mr. Lau out front here with a 153.31, taking the provisional pole in the silver class. So in the low 153s already, and we should easily see into the 52s before the silvers are done with their qualifying times, I would think.
Oh, for sure. I mean, first flying lap, we're already at a 53.3. I don't think it would be ridiculous to say that could be improved upon by the 2nd to 7/10 on their second lap.
We got a couple bets in the chat. We have a bet on a 52.1 from Michael, and we also have a 152.9, but he took it back. It's a 151.9 pole tonight. That's the bet, is a 151.9. That's what we're betting for the pole. Anybody else got the over under on that, or what do we think in the chat? Mr. Marecki is putting a good bid in his Aston Martin right now for a faster lap. He is currently sitting second place, and he's almost a half second up on his previous lap attempt. Yeah.
I tell you, Rust is up almost 6/10 right now on his, which would almost get him into the 52s.
Yeah, he would overtake for sure. That's definitely into the 52s, or almost, yeah, you're right, about 53 flat. Marecki crosses the line with a 53.08. Takes a provisional pole away from Lau. Lau improved a tiny bit, but only about a 10th. Rust is still yet to cross the line as he comes across and slides into second place, pushing Lau down even a little bit further with a 53.2.
30 milliseconds if he takes that from Lau.
How tight the field is going to get here, folks, before the silver qualifying is over. I think lately we've seen the top 30 all fit within 1 second of each other. So this is how tight sim racing can be with the conditions that you can continue to practice over and over again in extremely similar conditions. That's one of the things that makes sim racing a little bit different than real racing, as far as the amount of time you can put in on track in the exact conditions you're going to have to race and qualify in. And that's why we see such close times compared to real world racing often.
Absolutely. Again, it is a simulation. So the coding that you have to take into account for the physics, the tire wear, tires coming up to temperature, it's just a multitude of things that you could never fully model within a gaming system. I mean, maybe you could, but
not yet.
I don't think any of us have the CPU power or the graphics card power.
They're still working on it. I bet within my lifetime it's going to get about as close as it can get, as some real world racers have said, and compared in comparison to driving the real car. About the only thing you're really lacking right now even is the G-force effects from the car. That's something they still can't really duplicate. Quite.
Those. I'm not really sure what to call it, but the F1 drivers use it to strengthen their necks. I'm sure IndyCar drivers do as well. It's like almost like a resistance that will pull their neck one way, and they have to fight against it. That might be common here in a few years to get your body to feel those G-forces. You have to work against something.
Yeah, it could be. Looks like Mr. Crown here took a little excursion off the side of the track. Very easy to do here, but also easy to do it and not damage your car. So as long as he didn't flat spot or damage his tires by locking up for an extended period of time or sliding sideways for an extended period of time, he will probably have another go without having to make a pit stop. But that lap was obviously aborted as he begins another one. Marecki is out front still with that 153.05 now. So almost a 153 fly.
Yes, Majid just let Marecki by coming onto the main straightaway, and he's also letting, I'm not sure who this is here in the, that must be Kelvin Lau.
Yeah, that's Mr. Lau, yep.
I wonder if you're trying to get a bit of a tow to improve that lap time, letting these cars go in front of him. He's going to have time to set another hot lap, but
perhaps he was just being courteous too, you know. He just knew he wasn't as quick and didn't want to get in their way when they're really hot lapping. So I really thought we'd be in the 152s by now, to be honest with you.
You know, if Marecki can keep this together, he's up to 10th right now with about 10 seconds to go in his lap. He's up 4 tenths.
Oh yeah, he's flying.
No, he's losing it big.
Let's hop on board. He's on the front straight as he's pushing towards the line with that Aston Martin power. And by the time he gets to the line, he's just barely into the 152s. Just barely squeaked in there with a 152.95. And that will more than likely cement the silver pole as everybody else is pretty much on their last attempt. It looks like a couple other people have pulled over and already headed to the pit lane. Wilson's going to put in a bid here. Doesn't look like he improves on his lap. Travis is coming through the final section here.
First section.
First section. He is just starting his final hot lap. So some of these guys further back do have an attempt to go one more time. It looks like Marecki did cross the line as well, so he does have another shot at it because he crossed the line just before the 10-minute mark. So he is on another hot lap.
Oh, never mind. I cursed him.
You said his name out loud, and look what happened.
He put coming to the final corner, got a little loose, put it in the wall.
That happened.
And that would have moved him up to 3rd place in silver.
Oh, say it ain't so.
Large mistake.
Look what you took away from him. Majid on a very hot lap for him as well here, as he is almost 4 tenths up on his previous attempt, sitting in 10th place currently. Could possibly move up quite a bit. He's losing some time here, but it looks like he's gaining it back. He's getting good power on his exits, which is desperately needed here with this course that carries such high speed sections. He's up half a second now if he can maintain this through the end as he pushes through the final hairpin. He gets a pretty good run on the final corner, although he is losing time down the front straight compared to his previous attempts. He will still go 4 tenths faster and jump all the way up to 4th place with a 153.3. And Marecki did not improve his time. He headed back to the pits as well. With that, we are going to jump over to our gold drivers as they come out and to make their warm-up laps. And we will jump over to our previous season champion, the guy with the number 1 on his car for a reason, as he gets queued up, ready to run his first lap. Let's take a ride on board with our reigning champ right now as he takes us around in his Porsche around this beautiful French track. Crank it up 3 folks for a second. straightaway can get so boring partway through this race. But it's also
cruise control.
Yeah, you do. You really. We were talking about the other night. Cause set up a button on the wheel or something. You can hold down so you can like stretch your legs or something while you're on that straightaway without having to hold the throttle pedal down. But we are seeing some picture perfect lines out of Nordstrom here, as we usually expect from these D1 drivers. And again, this probably is not his tires and everything are probably not fully warmed up when he began this lap. At least he's probably getting pretty close now. But even some of this stuff, little wiggle coming out of there. Rides the curbs heavily through this section. Gosh, that's a lot of bouncing around, but takes the widest entry possible here into the penultimate corner. As he rounds that out, brake hard into this hairpin, throw it in, and hard on the loud pedal down the front straightaway. And that completes our lap here at Paul Ricard.
I'm anxious to see what Mr. Manning can do here on his first flying lap.
Not a bad lap that we rode on board there. We were worried in the chat I saw about possibly weighing down his car with all the extra passengers, but I don't think it slowed him down that much, as he took his Porsche up to second place just behind O'Brien. And O'Brien's on another faster lap now. Those two immediately into the 152s to take first and second place away from our silver drivers. O'Brien making the Audi work well here at this French track. And there he is, our usual pole sitter. Half second out in front of everybody else, pretty much. Let's get some camera time for Mr. Manning, because after he runs away from the front of the pack, we probably won't have the camera on him much longer the rest of the evening. It's a beautiful looking livery. Yeah. Oh boy, everybody's hating on Manning because he's winning everything. It's just like Verstappen, you know. Everybody liked him, and then he started winning everything, and everybody's like, I don't care for him so much.
Yeah. Terrible being a winner. Thought that you have that nice gold trophy to sleep with at night.
Yeah, it must be lonely. It's between you and your wife.
Yeah.
We may have some challengers though here. We've got some other people putting in some fast laps. Fimbres Casas is putting in a good bid right now. He's about 3.5 tenths up on his previous best effort. He's at a 153.2 right now, and he's still gaining some speed here as he finishes his lap, jumps all the way up to a podium spot, third place, with a 152.85.
Yeah. Mr. Sir right now is sitting right at 1 second off of his teammate and not improving. So I wonder what's going on there tonight. Usually their pace is incredibly similar.
Maybe he didn't load the right setup or something, because that's a lot of disparity. But I mean, I know Manning is just, as he talked about in our briefing at the end, or interview at the end last time, he is putting in a lot of laps right now, and it shows, right? He's about 3 tenths up on his previous best, so he will improve to a 152.2. That's our current pole time. Bosley, you in the chat again? Aren't you supposed to be racing right now, man? Should we interview you pre-race or something?
Gosh, we need a post qualifying interview.
Yeah, post qualifying interview. We've talked about it before, but so many drivers are in the zone right there. We'd hate to bust anybody out that wasn't prepared for such things. So it'd be hard to pick, but we may attempt that later.
Bosley could be our trackside reporter for us.
O'Brien making another bid for some of the top spots here, as he's up about 2 tenths on his previous best. He could be the first one to break, other than Manning, to break under the 152.8 barrier. Manning, once again, kind of untouchable out front there.
He's 3 seconds down right now. He must be just
half second quicker. Still a half second quicker than O'Brien, who just improved a lot down to a 152.69.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised right now if Mr. Manning is slowing down so his teammate can catch up to the back of him and get a nice tow.
Try to drag him up through the field a little bit, literally. As
Well,
we will see.
actually, Manning is coming through the final sector, and Mr. Sir is just about to come on to the main straightaway. So I don't think they have enough time to make that happen.
Yeah, this is Mr. Sir here. He is not on a positive delta lap right now and currently sits in 13th position, as you can see on your screen. Does not look like he will improve this lap. If he crosses the line here in the next minute and 20 seconds, he will have one more go at it, and that'll be about it. But that's going to be tough to claw your way up the field from those mid spots here.
Absolutely, because once you get into a train of cars that's 5 or so deep, everybody has the same draft. You're not going to make up any time down the straightaway. Now, the guy leading that draft better make sure they have a good exit. But as far as the guys behind him, it's the stalemate.
All right, folks. Manning is making a bid for a sub 52 lap here. Let's ride on board and take this in, as he is already 2/10 up on his previous best and coming out onto the long straight and holding the delta there. So got a good run on to this long straightaway. His current time, a 152.2. If he holds this delta for the rest of the lap, he will be in the 151.9 pole position, as was predicted by our chat. So I don't know if we have a prize for the lucky man in the chat or anything like that, but fantastic racing insight there as he continues to hold this delta through scene. Long sweep right.
Delta.
Yeah, gained a little bit of time through the middle of it. Hopefully that doesn't compromise his exit. No, he continues to hold just over 2/10 up on his previous best lap. No one even coming close to shifting positions around him, although Mercer jumps up to second place with a 152.66. Fantastic lap out of him here towards the closing laps. And Manning is going to make this bid for a 151 lap, and he's continuing to hold it. He gets a little wiggle off that. Oh no, he's losing the delta. He still will improve his time, but it will not be into the 151s. It'll be a 152.06. That's your pole time this evening, folks, as our gold drivers wrap up their laps. We have Nixon back here in the other Audi, making one last bid at it. Currently in 10th place. He could move up a couple of spots. O'Brien making another bid at it too. He's up a 10th, and that would move him to second place if he can hold it here through the last few corners. Let's watch and see if these guys can make it stick. He is gaining a little bit of time, but usually if you're gaining time at the apex, you're not going to continue to gain that time off the exit, although he seems to be holding it pretty well here. Still up about a 10th. Moving up to 2/10 up now through that corner, but again, he was fast through the middle of the corner, so can he hold it on exit? Brakes hard into the final. Does not get quite as good a runoff as he has on previous laps, but he's still on a positive delta, and it looks like he will move up to second place. Yes, he does. Mr. Sir finally putting in a good lap, busts up to 11th place right at the bell, so not quite as far back as he had in the first place. And there is your top 20 set for this race, as we flip back to our intermission page for a second while we get things set up for our track walk, and trying to bring you guys all the action this evening.
Really good showing for the Audis tonight. Second and 7th. They must have found the secret sauce to get that car to move around these corners and straightaways. It's been a tough season for them so far, but tonight it looks like they have found the pace.
Very, very much so. So let's get back to our race scene action. And Maxie, let's count them down tonight as we get ready to take on Paul Ricard.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, no stranger to pole position. Michael Manning starting in that beautiful BMW tonight on pole. Following up, we have Mr. O'Brien in his Audi tonight. Coming up to the second row of the grid, we have Mercer in his Aston Martin. We have
Fantastic
Cassis in
looking
the-
livery on that tonight.
Oh,
wow,
with
that
the
looks great in the
purple
darkness.
LED light bars. That is nice. And we have Cassis in 4th place with the highest of the Mercedes runners. Fleminger here in the Ferrari. Jeff Spangler in his McLaren starting 6th tonight. We have Nixon in the 2nd Audi on the grid starting 7th. Gomer Wilson here in the Mercedes. That car also looks brilliant right now in the nighttime conditions that we have. Travis Nordstrom, last year's champion, starting 9th. We have Marecki, the highest silver driver, starting 10th in his Aston Martin. Mr. Sir, Manning's teammate, starting 11th. We have Neville in the Aston Martin that currently doesn't have his lights on. A little dark out here tonight.
Fantastic. The sister livery to the other one we counted on. Gosh, that's a good looking livery.
Yeah. And we have Robinson in 13th in his McLaren with another McLaren of Kelvin Lau right next to him, starting 14th. We have Rust in, well, excuse me, I was going to say the first Porsche. That is actually our second Porsche, Nordstrom, starting headed in 9th. Fazli Majid here in 16th. Code Romo in his Mercedes starting 17th. We have Wheeler in the BMW starting 18th. Dan Cran starting 19th in the Ferrari. And our first Honda of the night, Rados, starting 20th. Drevez, who has recently become a commentator for SRA, starting 21st in his Aston Martin. We have Carpenter in the Ferrari, starting 22nd. Then we have Wilson in the McLaren, Schwartz in the McLaren, starting 23rd and 24th. We have Durant in the Mercedes, Semedo in the McLaren, Nate Speck in his BMW. Louis in 20th position in the Porsche, Archie in the Aston Martin, Boardman in the Porsche, and Crown and Stallworth in the McLarens finishing out the grid. We have 32 cars here tonight, folks.
Fantastic job counting down the grid for us there as we are ready to get our formation lap underway. Our pole sitter Manning with almost a 151.9, very close. Yeah, I could probably manipulate the game settings a little bit. That's going to be a little bit tricky here. Let's see if I can manage that. Mm-hmm. Let's see if that makes a little bit of a difference for you guys to see a little bit better from our viewpoint. Might make things a little bit brighter for you.
Yeah, these night races, especially Paul Ricard, where there's hardly any track lighting. It is so hard to see the cars, and when you're actually in the cockpit, it's not that bad. I mean, you can see the track, you can see where you're going. But yeah, looking at it from the outside, it looks very dark out there.
Looks pretty good on my screen right now. I'm not going to adjust it any further. So hope you guys enjoy what you see. As we get ready to go green around this very fast track, let's hope we have a clean first lap. As Maxie was alluding to, the practice race, even in the D1, D2 practice race, it was a lot of mayhem. I started from the back of that pack and passed quite a few.
I think you were in the top 20.
Yeah, I think I
cars.
ended up in 15th place by a couple laps after that. So made up quite a few positions because there was so much carnage on the first lap. So let's hope we don't see a bunch of positions lost from anybody here as we begin this race, as we get a nice overview here under the lights. The little bit of lighting that is here on this track, you are heavily dependent on your car's headlights at this track, as there is not any actual track lighting. There is a little bit of side of the track lighting just for basic safety, but we are getting ready to go green.
Alrighty, I'll be keeping a watchful eye here towards the back of the pack, where usually that accordion effect will catch people out.
And just for that, we're going to bring up our picture-in-picture so we can get a little bit of action shot from the back of the pack. As Maxie said, he will have his camera trained on some of that stuff as we come down our front straightaway, getting ready to begin this race as we go for round 3 here at SRA Division 1 Racing here at Paul Ricard. Manning brings him to the line, a little bit hesitant there, pretty much side by side. He's a little bit behind second place as the lights go green here, and it looks as if O'Brien is going to challenge him into the first corner, and he is currently actually pulling out ahead, but oh boy, Manning just sticks it in there with expert skill, hugging the apex. No contact between either one of them as they head off down through this high-speed section here. First hard braking zone coming up here as Manning dives into that with the BMW. They all fall in line behind, knowing the fastest way to get out in front of everyone is to go nose to tail. And we will switch over to some more appealing camera views as they go through these tight bends, trying to get the best run out of this corner here to get good power out onto this long straightaway as that BMW power will try to run away from everyone else.
I love how ACC models the exhaust. As they go down the straightaways, that exhaust will get brighter and brighter red, and then when they come off the power, it'll slowly die down.
A little bit of lens flare effect on our camera as the cars blast down the straightaway. A little bit of passing attempt further back here as it looks like two pairs are going to go side by side into this super high-speed corner, and they do come out unscathed. 3 now, 4, a 5th further out wide there back as Flamger looks like he lost a spot to Nixon. Nixon diving inside. He still could be under pressure from Nordstrom again to lose another spot. And again, Sir tucking in right behind there. They're going to go 3 wide into this next corner as they all jockey for precision. Now Nordstrom caught on the outside. He may be in jeopardy of losing positions as Flamger takes the position he lost back, essentially. Nixon did pull out in front of all of them, though, and he did ultimately net lose 1 position from all the mayhem. Looks like Stallworth further back the grid here is battling pretty closely with Durance and Specht as they trade positions back and forth, still diving a lot inside of each other as the accordion effect is still sorting itself out. And we have contact back here between, looked like, who was that?
They're changing positions so quick, I can't even keep track
yeah,
of
who's
who right now.
Right now, the telemetry is jumping all over the place back here. These guys are still sorting themselves out as they are jockeying for position. You know, it's so funny because it doesn't matter where you start on this grid. If you're in last place or in 5th place, you are absolutely going to fight for your everything you've got in you to gain a position. It doesn't matter if it's 25th spot or 1st spot. You want to take it.
Dromo and Kelvin Lau here going side by side as we head up to the long straightaway, and Dromo is going to have an incredible draft.
We got a race out of the pit lane here as wow, these guys decided to dive in. Majid and Wilson decided to go side by side into the pits, and
Cran actually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's correct.
Teammate.
Yeah, so Cran did come out ahead on that, but they were side by side coming out of the pit lane, and I think Wilson just thought wiser of trying to race straight into the first corner with him. And you know, it's funny because both these guys probably took that early pit stop thinking, hey, we're going to get some free track, we're going to run some fast laps, and now they're basically going to be battling with each other, it looks like.
So Kelvin Lau and Dromo both exited onto the straightaway nose to tail. Well, out of nowhere, towards the end of the straightaway, Robinson had the draft of those 2 cars in front of him, motored right up and took the position from Dromo. So Dromo went from looking to gain a position to losing a position.
We got somebody throwing a yellow flag right now as we complete some of our first laps. Oh, it's, yeah, so we will get some false yellow flags that I might jump to, but it's actually more people diving into our pit lane. Because you have to slow on track so much for the pit entry here, our telemetry often throws up a false yellow flag for that. So apologies, folks, if we get excited and think something's going on when it's really just guys jumping in for their pit stops, as these guys will complete their stops here on the 2nd lap of the race and get that out of the way. And we will keep an eye on them as they continue to track through the field and see how they make out with these early pit stops. Is that the right strategy? Are these guys going to be caught out later by having carried that to 1 extra liter of fuel for the whole race?
Yeah. Well, I would have thought most people would have pitted towards the end tonight because the draft is going to be so vital. In the McLaren, it's worth about 3 to 4 tenths.
It looks like
down the back straightaway.
Yeah, in the chat here, I'm trying to take a look back, but I'm not finding it here in the most recent replay. But being told Marecki got spun at some point. He was fighting for the pole in our silver drivers, so he was much further up than this. Slid back to 27th place now and seems to be kind of running solo by himself out there. So he did decide to go into the pit lane as well. So that's the other reason he's quite far back.
I'm looking right now to see if I can find.
Oh, the other Eric. Sorry, you got to be more specific, man. How am I supposed to know what Eric we're talking about?
But Marecki did lose quite a bit of lap time. He fell way. He had a 2:22 lap.
He pitted, so.
Oh, that would explain that.
That would be that. We got Koa all over the back of Robinson still here, as he tries to make up time in that Mercedes. Boy, he's getting all over the back of him there. Let's ride on his passenger seat here and see what we can see. This side of the car. Such aggressive curb hogging. I call it curb hogging here at this track, as there's lots of places you can take a ton of curb. There's other places you don't really want to take much of it at all. So knowing those spots and knowing where you can be aggressive on those curves can be the difference between a fast lap time and a disastrous one.
Nordstrom looking up the inside of Nixon.
Sure is. Close gap up here as they go side by side
through Steen Corner.
We might see some action here as Nordstrom pulled it out. It looked almost like Nixon just kind of conceded. Nordstrom wide though, as he will definitely get a track infringement for being that wide on that corner. You can go quite wide on that corner, but you have to make it back in before those Bullard, the little white posts sticking up. And he did not quite make it that time. So he will more than likely have his first track warning. Get 3 of those before you're penalized.
Smart move there would have been to just let out of the gas, make sure you don't gain time.
Jumping on board with Mr.
Lose the position.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Jumping on board here with Mr. Sir, who has moved a little bit up. I believe he moved to 11th place in qualifying, and now he's already jumped up to 8th and is tagging right on the rear of this battle between Nixon and Nordstrom. Nixon and Nordstrom, that's fun to say.
All right, looks like Dromo and Wheeler are in the pit. Where will they come out? Will they come out ahead of our other pitted drivers?
So the Eric that our chat was referring to is Neville here, who is down in 31st first position now, having
so that was
recovered
a
from
genuine yellow flag then.
For
as soon
him,
as we got on board with him, he was coming into the pit lane.
yeah, for him it was. So I guess he did spin there before he jumped into the pit lane. Just decided it was a good time to get his head back together. After an incident like that, oftentimes it's good to just stop, decompress for a minute, even though you only get about 5 seconds of actually taking your foot off the pedal. It can make a big difference for getting your mind back in the mental game you need to go around the track at this kind of speed. Wow, putting some pressure on
already in
Rust.
the 52.
He dives inside and takes that position at scene as they both take the preferred line, which looks like you are going way off the track there, but that's actually allowed. That's permitted within the track limits here. So that is not a track cut. Lau moving up to the top 10 with that overtake on Rust. We got a little bit of a gaggle back here. The Drevis, Grados, Carpenter, all hugging on the back of Fazli Majid. Majid, once again, making a little bit of a roadblock
we
out here.
Durant was yellow for a second, but I do believe, well, no, Schwartz actually.
Schwartz, what happened here? Looks like he might have had some issues as he gets things rolling back down the track again. Let's see if we can jump back and see what might have happened here. He was in this large gaggle of cars. They might have been trying to sort themselves out. Sure enough, got late on the brakes and made contact with a couple of cars there, and then did the gentlemanly thing to just kind of pull over and say, you know what, I'm penalizing myself for that kind of tomfoolery. We won't stand for that here at SRA, and he knows it. So he just gives himself the penalty right away.
All right, let's see here. Wow, about 13 of our drivers tonight have already hit the pit lane, so very interesting to see them still pitting at kind of the 10-minute mark. Usually if you're going to pit this early, it's an opening couple laps, but 5 laps into it, still getting some takers.
Let's get some overhead shots as there's three people jostling each other down the street straight here as Majid continues to be a brick wall in front of the rest of these drivers. He's not going near as wide on his line, so you can see where these guys all want to go a little bit faster than him, but can't quite find a way around that Ferrari of his as he continues to place it just perfectly to not give them enough room. Oh, finally decided they make contact and both spin to the outside, and then there's further contact as it Drevis was sliding by the inside. Or Rados in the Honda slid by the inside and got a little bit of contact. So all three of them will have probably small amounts of damage from that. Nothing major, but definitely not the cleanest racing out of the SRA bunch there. It does look like Drevis is going to jump to the pit lane after that little encounter, either to clear his head or he might decide even just a little bit of aero damage on this track can cost you quite a bit of time down that long straightaway.
I'll keep an eye here on his pit stop time, and we'll know shortly.
We'll jump back to some other action here as we have a little bit of a gaggle stacking up 7th through 10th place, or 6th through 9th place. I apologize. We got some cars kind of nose to tails. We get an overhead view of the action. You can see how little track lighting there actually is here from some of these helicopter shots, where there's just a light post here and there that casts some light across the track, but then long sections here where you're completely dependent on the headlights of your car. And especially when you're going darn near 200 miles an hour down that long straight, it's I guess not 200. I got up to 180 when somebody bump drafted me way too hard at one point.
Yeah, the max I've got up to is 290 kilometers, so that's right at that 180 mile an hour mark. And Rivez most definitely repaired his car. He was stopped for 13 seconds. Durant, who we know had a little bit of a contact there on the opening laps, was stopped for 14 seconds. So they both picked up some damage. But this undercut looks to be pretty strong tonight because Rivez had a much larger gap over these pitted cars, and he's now running in 31st. They were able to make up time.
Yeah, you're saying he didn't have a longer pit stop?
He had a longer pit stop.
Okay, so he did lose some time in the pit on top of that, but
we're looking about 5 seconds.
Okay.
Tonight for the splash and dash.
For the 5 second stop time.
And total time in the pit lane for splash and dash, we're looking about 38 seconds, 40 seconds.
Yep. And then, yeah, you guys still have to add in the speed up and slow down on basically in the middle of a straightaway. You have to drop from top speed, or you're not quite at top speed at the drop. So the drop's not too terrible on this track, but the acceleration back up to top speed still takes a little bit more time. So you had a few more seconds for that. We're definitely about 40, 45 seconds lost for your pit on a normal, as planned splash and dash pit stop. Looks like Schwartz diving into our pit lane here as well. I think he was involved in that incident that we caught a little bit ago. So he may have decided to come in and get some aero repaired as well. Nordstrom got a big run up the back end of Nixon down the straightaway as that Porsche is overpowering the Audi down the straight. Look at him go. Dives it inside, takes the position cleanly, hugs the apex, doesn't give him way back in as they go further down the track. Looks like a clean overtake out of our reigning champ.
Let's see here. Gomer Wilson's all over the back of Mr. Sir, but I'm sure Mr. Sir is going to be setting Nixon perfectly in his sights now and looking forward.
Another overtake going into scene as sorry, that wasn't into scene. This is that was into T1, right? I get so lost on this track.
So it was the double apex right-hander after scene.
After scene, yeah. So set it up through there, got side by side basically, and finished the overtake. Yeah, Gomer Wilson here as he's chasing down Mr. Sir. And Mr. Sir seems to be struggling with his pace just a little bit tonight, especially when we compare him to his unbelievably fast teammate, who is currently lapping at 153 flat pretty much on average.
Yeah. After 8 laps, he has a 5-second advantage. So that's a little over a half second per lap. And that's what the deltas are showing on the lap time.
Already got the purple lap by over half a second on anybody else, and continues to lap at just about a half a second faster than anybody else on the track right now.
All right, Nixon has it down to about 0.4 of a second here, or excuse me. Third has dropped way off. Read that delta wrong. Nixon is looking to come back at Nordstrom.
Yeah, that Audi does not seem to have it on the straight. He might be running just a click higher downforce because however Nordstrom is doing it, he is making that Porsche go faster down that straightaway than the Audi, which the Audi definitely has the power advantage in it realistically, but yeah, it's hard to know what they've done with their setups to make one car faster than another around this track. Neville trying to make up positions after that spin early as he has a good run up the back of Tomato on the same straightaway. This seems like where we will see the majority of cars getting that delta very close to one another. And will he dive up the inside coming into his, as Tomato's teammate Crown there, jumping into the picture in the back. Got a little bit of rubber banding on the connection here. Apologize for that, folks, as it kind of breaks our immersion into the racing world here.
I do believe somebody has left the server. We started tonight with 33 drivers, I believe it was, and we're down to 32, so that might explain the rubber band there.
A little bit of shuffling as the server resorts itself. Specht is now pitting as well. He did not do well in qualifying. He started pretty far back, didn't he, if I recall?
Oh, Mr. Sir.
Oh, no.
Is yellow flagged. Yep, something has happened to him. Could we get a...
He is way off the track there. As let's see if we can jump back and get a replay of what happened to him here. I think he's tucking it in through these corners, and then something happened. He had like a wheel disconnect or something there. That must be an equipment issue of some kind, because suddenly the car just went straight on him.
Yeah.
I've even heard things as goofy as my cat jumped on the friggin' wheelbase or something. I mean, it literally could be that goofy. You would hope that you would prepare for those kinds of things in races of this level, but anything can happen because you are not actually in a race car. You are sitting in a room somewhere, and anything can happen.
I had my dog drop the tennis ball. She was trying to get me to play with her, dropped it on my keyboard, and magically it hit the F1 button, which changes your view. And next thing I'm bar chase.
Oh, boy.
It was...
We do have our first drive-through of the night. Thanks for spotting that in the chat before we could jump on it. But Boardman has transgressed the track limits one too many times in his search for speed around this.
We're only 20 minutes
track.
in. That is going to be rough.
That is tough. I know in the practice race, I went pretty much straight up to 3 track limit penalties as well. and it's easy to get there. So hopefully he doesn't continue to get there, and we don't have any more issues as he does come in to serve that drive-through. Unfortunately, that will not count as his required pit stop, of course, because he won't actually stop. He will just drive through the pit lane without stopping. And Mr. Sir also took this opportunity to pit whatever equipment problems. Hopefully he can sort them in the normal 5 seconds he's stopped right here. We will see what happens. Yep, seems like he had a normal splash and dash pit stop. So hopefully he was able to hit the reset button or whatever he needed to do to get his driving situation back up to 100% as he rejoins the track in 19th place, it looks like.
But not too bad of a loss there, because Cassis, as we can see here, is the leader of the cars that have pitted. So he still has an opportunity to get some good points for the team tonight. I wouldn't count him out just yet.
Absolutely. Driver of that caliber, I would never count him out. We still have quite a train back here that Specht has rejoined after his pit stop. This is 25th through 29th place, all stacked pretty close together as we get the overhead view. And it looks like we're going to have another one join soon there, as Tomato's bringing up the caboose rather quickly in the McLaren. These are all cars that have pitted, so they will, many of them end up much higher position than they currently are. Oh, and we touched going down the straight, boy, just giving each other a little nudge there. That was not the nicest thing for Nate Specht to do. I don't think he did that on purpose. At least I hope not.
And desperate men will do some crazy things sometimes.
Actually, forgive me, that was Drevis on Specht that did that, the touch from the back. At that point, Specht couldn't have really known where he was as far as whether he was going to touch his rear bumper or not.
I will say sometimes ACC, when you're playing with, this many people online, there is a rubber band effect almost, where it looks like they're pulling away from you, and then all of a sudden
you're right
on top of them.
Yep. Yeah, the server has to when there's this many connections, sometimes it has to guesstimate a little bit on the position of the other cars, and then when it updates that car again, it has to close the gap very suddenly.
And then it's very depressing when you think you're getting a great draft, and then they start pulling back out on you.
Yeah, definitely is. When you think you got a really great run, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, it was just the game physics not quite catching up with what was really going on here. As we check out Mr. Wheeler putting some pressure on Stallworth here for the silver battles on our track. Coming through the final few corners here, or sorry, the first few corners onto the long straightaway. They look so similar. The beginnings and the end of this track are so very similar in the way that they have to throw the cars through those corners. Obviously in the car I can tell the difference, but from watching on this camera, it's like I'm not sure where they are.
Hey, well, you're doing better than me. Every bit of this track looks almost identical. If I'm not fully focused, it's easy to get disoriented because there's nothing around you here. It's wide open up to the barriers and the stands.
Not many landmarks.
So really tough.
As we see Wheeler overtake Stallworth. Stallworth washed a little bit wide through seam there, which is so easy to do. And the really bad part about it is not only will you lose positions there usually if you wash wide, you also end up scrubbing your tires pretty much the whole time trying to recover the car, because you just get out in the loose stuff and you're just kind of sliding, the grip levels fall off. You have to get past the slip angle of the tire in order to get it to turn back in. And it just ends up being an all-around mess for about the next lap and a half to basically get your tires to recover. If you've done it really badly, they won't even recover. But Boardman decides to jump into the pit for his actual pit stop now. After serving his drive-through, he has to go in again now to do his actual required pit stop. Rust here putting pressure on Lau. Lau going way outside the track limit there.
Well, Rust, so when they came onto the straight was 9/10 off of allow. By the time they got up to the entry of scene, that had close to a half a second. The tow around here is immense.
Yeah, you do. It's one of the few tracks we actually do see the GT3 draft have some effect, because there's not a ton of draft on a GT3 car in most races. But here, when you got a straight this long, you definitely start to see where the draft is actually doing some things. So speaking of that, let's take a look here. We got quite a gaggle of cars here, as we can kind of get them all in view down the straightaway here. This is, again, 24th through 29th place, as they continue to stay within that 1 second of each other. They're stretching out a little bit now, but we'll continue to keep an eye and see if any of these guys close the gap and start battling with one another.
And down here in the picture-in-picture, Nordstrom has closed right back up to Flemanger, about a half a second right now. He gets there, and it's almost like the car just kind of doesn't want to behave with the dirty air coming off of that Ferrari in front.
Yeah, the dirty air is a thing for sure, especially in these long sweeping corners. And I'm going to take a quick break from talking, and I'm going to give you guys some visual and audio stimulation here as we watch Mr. Manning flog his Beamer around this racetrack. Driving mastery on display here at Paul Ricard as he heads off down the long straightaway and continues to stretch that gap. He's almost to a 10-second gap out in front, as Nordstrom here does continue to close this gap, as we mentioned before, on Flamanger for 5th place.
This is the closest he's been. It's down to about 0.2 of a second. Coming down the big old straightaway. Let's see.
Porsche versus Ferrari, folks. Which one's going to be faster into seam? He continues to close that gap lap after lap. I would say he will be in striking distance again, as long as that dirty air doesn't count him out. And he has definitely walked out the gap on Nixon, who he was originally battling with. So Nordstrom making his way up the field here. Another guy we haven't really mentioned, who's been just quietly doing his thing tonight. I don't think we've talked about him a single time during the broadcast. Mr. Spangler.
Yeah.
Jeff Spangler here, who I believe finished 2nd place in last week's race. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Fazli Majid, yellow flag. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, him and Archie have had some incident.
Let's see if we can jump back. Take a look. Was it the same two getting into it again? Let's take a look back and see what we can see, folks, as they are continuing to race with one another here. He gets wide, comes in, and they're side by side, and sure enough, makes some contact there, as he kind of almost looked like got kind of hip checked there by Archie as they were making their way through. He might have just lost the car a little bit there and had to counter steer to correct it, and it looks like Archie just had another. Okay, so that's a false yellow flag there as he dove into the pit lane. As soon as you turn in hard to go to the pit lane, it reads that you're perpendicular to the track, and that throws up a yellow flag for us. So oftentimes causes a little bit of problem. But yeah, back to what I was saying here. Spangler just quietly doing his thing, hanging out in 4th place. He's about 2.5 seconds back from Mercer. Another guy we haven't talked much about, Mercer, hanging at top 3. You know, podium spot. These guys hanging well up at the front.
You know, I can't help but think Cassis in the Mercedes, currently in 15th, still the first of cars that have pitted, is most likely going to end up P2 after everything cycles through. So currently he's about 42 seconds off of 2nd place. And as we talked about earlier, a good pit stop around here is about 40 seconds to the pit lane. Now that doesn't take into account, as Dudley was saying, the entry and exit. So if you take that into account, Casas should be P2 after the pit stop cycle through.
P2. It seems like a recurring theme we have here in SRA D1, that it's a battle for P2. As Michael Manning continues to put on an absolute masterclass display of driving at every track we go to. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's super high speed with lots of flowing corners, or if it's very tight and technical with many sharp angles. Oh, and we have another drive-through for the night. Coadromo, after a poor race last week, he was not hoping to do that this week with picking up a drive-through. That will be costly for him, as he's currently running 17th and has already completed his mandatory pit stop. And Nate Specht also.
He just dropped from the server, so he quit.
Oh, boy. Yeah, he's had enough this evening, and I wish him well. I know that feeling. It sucks. Casas will be hitting traffic soon. Is what we're getting in the chat. Could be. Koa goes in for his drive-through.
5 seconds off of Louis. We just passed the halfway point in the race. And Casas has about a second per lap advantage on Louis in front. So here in about 4 laps, he will definitely be in traffic.
Nordstrom, the gap has lengthened back out from Flamger again here. It seems like he can push for a few laps and catch back up, and then whether it's dirty air or if he's just worked the tires a little bit too hard, can't quite stay in that close gap or get close enough to attempt to overtake. He's our closest gap on the track currently, though. Sorry, take that back. Neville here, closing hard on Wilson. Looks like he will attempt an overtake here with the kind of delta and speed that he has. Takes it way out wide, trying to get no chance of contact. But as soon as he pulls out of the draft, boy, they're just kind of matched for speed at this point. Can't really make much headway. Yeah, he pulls out of the draft, and he basically loses any attempt at gaining on it. The delta just went away. Very interesting.
Casas was able to get around Majid rather easily. I'm not sure how Majid ended up there.
How does Majid end up anywhere?
He ended up in the chat tonight right after qualifying.
Right. Popped in.
You never know where this guy's going to be.
Said a few things, you know. Oh, I guess I'll jump back in the race car. What the heck?
Yeah. I would love to be that relaxed on a race night.
Here we have this gap again. Neville right on the back of Wilson. It just seems like that Aston Martin kind of runs out of power compared to the McLaren once they get up to the higher speeds. Boy, he's all over the back of him now.
Yeah, it looks like under acceleration, the Aston is quicker, but as they get up to 3rd and 4th gear, the McLaren just pulls away. This most recent update, a lot of cars had certain areas of their power band either nerfed, which means the power was decreased, or they had the power increased in certain areas. So I'm not too sure of the Aston Martins.
Very close to him now here on this straight. He's going to run in that draft as long as he can. Pulls out alongside. Let's see if that Aston can maintain the speed delta this time as he continues to push ahead down the straightaway.
Looks like it.
He will pull ahead. And it looks like maybe Wilson maybe even just thought a little bit better of trying to go 2x2 into the fast right-hander there, and might have decided that, or he just wanted to get a good look at that beautiful livery on that Aston tonight. So he wanted to see it from the other side instead of in his mirror.
Rust and Lau looks to be our closest battle on track right now. It's about 3 to 4 tenths, depending on where they're at on the track.
Yeah, Rust and Lau for our top silver spot as they battle that out. And in the driver's standings, we didn't talk about it too closely, but the spots for like 3rd through 5th in silver right now are extremely close, and I believe both Rust and Lau are right in there.
I believe Rust it's going to be on the outside. Oh, yes, he got him.
Very much so. Beautiful overtake. Let's see if we can go back and overtake or watch this overtake get set up again here. As Rust, the car behind here currently in his Porsche, is going to overtake the McLaren of Lau. He gets the outside as it looks like Lau Lau must have just let him by there. Must have decided, I don't want this guy's headlights on my mirror anymore. I'm just going to let this guy get around me.
That is the smart decision. You know, clearly the driver on the outside has already made his intention to clear. I'm placing my car here. If you want to make it through this corner, you're going to have to back out.
Mm-hmm.
And Lau did the smart option there and backed out of it. The defending was over at that point.
Yep.
You know, you can only defend so long before the faster driver will make it by. Unfortunately, though, the battling that these two are doing is slowing them down, and they are going to drop significantly in the silver battle. Maybe about the 21st to 22nd area is where they'll come out
After their pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an eye on that gap for the drivers that have already pitted. Now, Casas is currently
about 40 seconds off of P2.
Yeah. Yep. So he would still take P2 if O'Brien were to pit right now, and everybody else between them, basically.
And going off the lap times, Casas and O'Brien both 54-1. So
we're going to get closer here. I mean, the gaps have spread out enough that I don't think anybody really feels like anybody else is really slowing them down. So you're probably going to see majority of the rest of the pit stops happening in the last couple laps of the race. Nordstrom has closed that gap up again to Flamger, although he let it slide a little bit there. But back under a half a second again here, and we will see if he can continue to close this gap. He's our closest gap on track, although Majid looks like he just lost a spot to Marecki here. That was for third place in silver. So let's see if we can. Yeah, Majid was on the inside, and it looks like Marecki just pretty much drove the Aston around the outside of him there. Boy, they got close to making contact, but this time stayed clean. It's good. Majid's been involved in enough contact tonight. We don't need any more. And it's just basic. Marecki says, "Thank you very much. I will drive away from you now." He has already opened up almost a second gap. Getting some closer battles again here as Louis coming up on the back end of wheeler and already diving to the inside down the front straight. Takes the racing line right over against the pit lane. And we'll see if they go side by side into turn one. They do. He does have to check up a little bit. Looks like he could even have a little bit of damage on the front of that Porsche. Louis could. That might be slowing him down just slightly. Also, Neville trying to make his way back up through the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that 21st back through 24th battle. Really, really close. Got a tight group of 4 cars around this track, and then right behind them is another same situation where we have, let's see here this time, 5 cars, all nose to tail.
See that rubber banding effect that we were talking about earlier, as suddenly it looked like Neville was about to slam into Carpenter there, and it's a little bit disconcerting when you're on the high speed straightaway and the car in front of you is moving around unexpectedly like that. Bosley, how are you chatting right now? What are you still in the race car?
I think we might need to check in on Bosley here and see if he's really driving this car or not.
That's frightening. I'm frightened. Nordstrom, closest gap we've seen in a while here, as he closes very tightly up to the back end of Flamger, putting that Porsche right up the trumpet of that Ferrari. Getting around the outside.
That is my line.
It's a good one, so I used it. Gets a wider line, gets a better run here now into the final couple of corners. Can he make an overtake onto the front straight as he continues to try to find a way around that Porsche or that Ferrari? Gap stretched back out a little bit now, but he gets a good run out of the final corner, and he will as Flamger decides to just end this battle, dives into the pit lane, which kind of surprised Nordstrom. If he was being held up at all there, like that probably would have been his move, but you know, I guess
this is going to put Flamger here in one of those 2 battles that we just mentioned, the 4-car gaggle and the 5-car gaggle. So I'm not sure this is a good move.
Speaking of gaggles, we got Archie and Dromo going side by side back, or not Dromo, Archie and Crown going side by side back here. Crown holds onto the spot for now, but under heavy pressure from Archie and the whole train behind them. We also have Neville now has made his way past Carpenter up there, so brought the 3 gold drivers of Mr. Sir, Dan Cran, and Eric Neville back together in 16th, 17th, and 18th place. Sir moving his way back up a little bit there to 16th after a little bit of issue early on with not really sure what happened there. It seemed to be an equipment issue of some kind as he just kind of stopped turning halfway through a corner, but fortunately, the brake pedal still worked, it looked like, so he was able to get it stopped before he made contact with anything.
Not sure what that could have been, because how quickly it just went straight.
Yeah, it must have been
a
a wheel
disconnects. Usually it's, at least 20 to 30 second process to get it back on. So he was going within a couple seconds. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Did he? Yeah, it seemed like the way that was, it seemed like something might have happened. Oh no, Koadromo with another drive-through. His second of the night.
Aww.
It seemed like that Mr. Sir incident to me was something happened in the area of his sim rig, and he had to attend to it and then get back to driving immediately afterwards. That's because if like you said, if it had been an actual equipment disconnect or something like that, it would have taken longer to recover than that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what could have. We'll just have to
Sorry.
ask him after the race. It sounds like.
Yeah. Sorry, Koa. Second drive through the night. That will be another not very happy performance for him, as he did not have a great race last week. I know he was hoping to have a good one this week, and unfortunately it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
This O'Brien and Casas battle that we're going to get after O'Brien pits is going to be mega. Because right now it's about 42 seconds, so they're going to be right on top of each other.
Well, good. Hopefully that will make up, Casas fighting for second place. There he is in that Mercedes. Will make up for his teammate here getting 2 drive-throughs, and he will carry the team with some good points tonight, as I know Koa wanted to score as well, but unfortunately it's not look like will happen. O'Brien's got to be thinking about pitting here soon, as we got about 15 minutes left. It's tricky here with this lap being a longer one too. You got to watch it, because you could get yourself thinking, oh, I got another lap and I can pit. You could miss your pit window.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have one of these almost 2-minute laps, it is easy to do.
Looks like O'Brien here in second place coming up. O'Brien here coming up on some lapped traffic. As Manning has checked out even further, he is 16 seconds adrift to the field out front. As everything has settled down basically for our top 20, Wilson is the only one really battling, trying to take 19th place from Carpenter here. Carpenter seems to be sliding back a couple of positions. Neville went around him. I believe Cran did earlier as well. So might not have got the setup quite right for the longer run on the race. And then further back, we still do have 24th through 27th. This kind of group has stayed together for the majority of the race here, as they just kind of run nose to tail a little further down the field, but they're probably having some fun racing with each other. And Nate Specht was part of that group before too, until he got the drive through and decided to call it a night. Mad props to Koa for sticking it out despite multiple drive-throughs and just continuing to stay in the race. I was like a guy that
guaranteed to finish dead last.
Right, but I was like a guy that says, "Look, man, I'm gonna finish what I started. Doesn't matter." It's the sort of respectful thing to do, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, this gap out front after 25 laps, it is 17 seconds. That is more than half a second a lap on average. The pace difference is insane.
It's border level not feasible. Like it's literally just like, what? I mean, you mean to tell me none of these other D1 drivers can take it to him? Like, that's incredible.
It is. It's
Can anyone answer the Manning machine?
if he wins every race this season, I will not be surprised in the least.
BOP Michael. Yeah, I think that might be a thing. Give him some
Your
ankle
name is
weights.
Manning.
I don't think won't the ankle weights be able to help him brake harder?
I just can't figure it out. I mean, and kind of as we go down the divisions, drivers are usually less experienced, so they're not as consistent with their lap times, and that's why you see bigger gaps and stuff in the lower divisions. It's not because they're necessarily slower, they're not as consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But to see a 17-second gap from first to second,
Mm-hmm.
is just mind-boggling
And
in this series.
And not just once, but for multiple races in a row now, we've seen those kind of gaps.
Yeah. I think he won the last race by almost 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And
makes the coverage hard too, because I'm trying to cover the winner across the finish line. We still got people trying to start the last lap that are battling each other for like 5th place.
I think we need a Division 0. And just put Michael Manning in it by himself. That's all he's doing. I don't know if he's seen another car tonight.
Yeah, he started from pole and drove away. Still got this battle down here at the back
Archie
end of the
and
field.
Crown.
Yeah, side by side.
Archie's looking to make a move.
Whoa, boy, they almost got into the back of each other there, going into the high speed right-hander. Boy, they just barely make it inside the bullards there at the end of that, don't they? Like every time they're right out to the end of them and just snap it back on the track at the last possible moment, using as much of the legal runoff there as they can.
All right, so Costas right now is almost exactly 1 minute off of the lead. O'Brien is 18 seconds off, so that gap of 42 seconds has stabilized and staying there.
All right, we will keep an eye on that, as pit stops will be coming soon for the remaining drivers, as Mr. SRA continues to make his bid for moving up the field.
Michael Manning pits. Jeff Spangler, yellow flag.
Oh no,
that was a weird area to be.
That is
interesting. So that's the 3rd sector. That is a very hard corner to get right under braking if you're really pushing. So you must have lost the rear.
Let's see what happens here. So coming through this left-hander, which is very tricky. Yup, sure enough, just let the back end wash out a little bit. No damage to the car, and wow, very dangerous on his re-entry to the track there, but luckily got away with it. And didn't collect any other cars, and he's back underway. Dropped to 7th place through all that. Manning now is dropping through the pack as well.
He pitted. He came into the pits.
Okay,
I guess he didn't want to lead every lap.
I guess so. He wanted to see some other cars for a second, give him a chance. Yeah. We've had some suggestions in the chat.
And he's only 19 seconds off the lead now.
Tie his shoelaces together, force a brake bias of 99%, turn his force feedback gain up to max. I mean, these are all ideas, you know.
Stop and go 30 every race.
Yeah, and he'd still find a way to win. Look at how he's gobbling up the time. Look at how he's just gobbling up this Audi down the straightaway with the Beamer. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Easily outdistances it into this corner.
Let him by, but still.
I mean, that was a miraculous difference in speed down that straightaway if he didn't.
So let's see here. The speed trap tonight. Our highest speed was Carpenter at 290 kilometers an hour. And Manning's speed trap, 287. Looks like the going average is about 285.
Things shaking up a little bit here as guys continue to pit. Looks like Gomer Wilson decides to take his turn at the pits. Neville looking to make overtake here on Dan Cran. Or Dan Cran took an overtake on Neville. I can't tell what just happened. See if we can go back and take a look here at the action as they continue to battle. Yeah, it looks like Neville here pulls up with the Aston, but then is not able to do anything with it, essentially. Dan Cran kind of moves quite a bit into the braking zone there. That was almost on dangerous, but he made his one move technically at the end of the straightaway, and that's legal.
As long as you can move over and not make contact with the car in front of you, you're good to go.
Neville all over the back of Cran's Ferrari at this point, though. Seems like, yeah, those Astons are quicker through the corner and initially right off the exit, but then the other cars, Ferrari, McLaren, the turbocharged cars are pulling away. Interesting power dynamic there at play.
Let's see. Is the Aston, is it a twin turbo V8? I know they updated it. I'm not sure what it is currently, but is it still a V8 twin turbo?
Somebody in chat knows better than I do.
Yeah. And given that I thought the Ferrari 296 was a V8, I'm not going to say one way or the other. I lost all credibility on engine size.
We had a suggestion to end the race now. Wow.
Yeah.
before Manning makes it back to P1. Whoa.
All right.
Boy, got way out of shape here. Neville darn near ended his race there, as he did make the overtake on Cran, and then almost lost control of his car.
I'm thinking O'Brien he's going to have to pit this lap.
Oh, he got touched. Sorry to cut you off there, Maxie,
No,
but
you're fine. You're fine.
he,
I didn't know you were showing that.
They did make contact through the second half of scene there, which may be a different corner name. I'm not sure, but he did end up continuing with the overtake. I'm pretty sure Cran basically let out of it at that point when that incident happened and just said, okay, you got the spot. Take it. Just take it.
Well, so O'Brien is, let's see here. Math is hard sometimes.
He must
I think
pit.
he's going to have to pit this lap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's coming through the final corner right now. He could push it one more if he wanted to, but no, here he comes.
And we have just crossed into the midnight hour. So just 3 minutes left in this race as we started this race technically at 11 p.m. But with the formation lap, the actual racing, the clock starts a few minutes after that.
All right. I'm anxious to see where Cassis comes out. So O'Brien has just stopped in the pit box.
Let's take a look here. He stopped there. So let's see where Cassis is now as he comes down the front straight.
It's going to clear him quite handily too.
Yeah, absolutely. Drives by with no drama.
About 3 seconds.
Save the drama for your baby mama. He's past him.
Yeah, I don't think Cassis can make up that 3 second gap in what's going to be most likely 2 laps.
Yeah, as we continue to wait. Yeah. For the only person left on the track not pitted is Fosley, but he's making his stop now. So we just wait to see how things unfold. Manning back out front as expected, about 20 seconds up the track. After everything shakes out, O'Brien maintains second place. Casas moves all the way up to third. The rest of the order, Marecki all the way back up to fifth place, our top silver driver again. You better watch out. He's going to get moved to gold.
I think Rados is making an overtake attempt here on Robinson. They're side by side.
Sure is. Let's get an overhead shot of this as they drive down the very straight. which has opportunities for turns in it, but this configuration just makes it one long drag race. He has the inside and uses it well. Robinson didn't hand it to him, but he definitely made sure that, it's this late in the race. You've had a decent race. If you're still going to collect points for 14th place, you got to be pretty happy with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about picking up points through the season. If you try to defend in a silly manner and you end up losing a whole bunch of positions, that could affect your result at the end of the season.
Robinson now on the back. Oh, wow. Him doesn't really seem like he's going to make headway back towards him at all now that he's got the draft. Sometimes you'll see a car that has enough to overtake, but then when they switch positions, essentially it rubber bands back the other way. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen in this case.
We have a very tight battle from 23rd to 26th.
Yeah.
As the clock ticks down to 0, our leader is about 20 seconds from the checker flag.
There he is, folks. Led the race pretty much from start to finish. The only time he didn't is when he decided to pit early and let somebody else lead a lap for the first time this season. Actually, I take that back. I think in the first race, it was.
I know Alvarado challenged Manning, but I think
he still led the whole time.
Into the first corner, I do believe so. I think the first corner, Manning got by Alvarado.
There is your race winner, folks, and it's a long time back, but here comes our second place finisher, O'Brien, as he brings it home in second place. Pimbers Casas coming home third, completing your podium. A little further back, Mercer brings it home in fourth place. Marecki coming home in fifth, your first silver driver. Nordstrom, your defending champ, coming home in sixth. And Nixon bringing home the other Audi in the field in seventh place. Things get all out of order here right now because people have teleported back to the pits, so things move around on me. So I'm not going to continue to do this because I'll probably say it wrong. We're going to talk a little bit about the results here as they finish up, but it doesn't look like there's too many close battles here winding down. Actually, back here, Durant's, Archie, and Crown, the three of them are about our closest battle on track as they fight all the way to the final corner. There may be a drag race to the finish line here. Nope, no such drama for us, folks, as they flash each other the lights, saying, hey, great race, or maybe, hey, you suck because you beat me. Not sure which. But either way, it was an entertaining race for the most part to watch tonight. Not as much carnage as there was in the practice race, thankfully. And with that, we will jump straight over to our interviews. I believe I was just informed that Maxie's going to have to jump out here, so you'll just have to deal with me for the interviews tonight, folks. But Maxie, thanks so much for jumping in the booth tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. Just concluding thoughts, I'll go ahead and give them. I know you usually do them after the interviews, but yeah, I don't know if anybody can stop Manning this season. We've had 3 kind of different tracks, and he's dominated them all. So
yeah, it's definitely the Manning machine is on the move.
All right, all the viewers, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Dudley, again, thanks for having me, and I will see you all next week.
All right, Maxie, thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
With that, we will try to get some race interviews here for you guys. Let's see if we can pull some of our race winners into the chat as I'm going to pull up our standings to make sure I didn't screw any of this stuff up. I just got to get the race results in here for this server and make sure I get the correct results from this race that just finished. But obviously we know who our winner is, so we could try to pull him in there. Let's pull Michael Manning in first thing, our race winner. and just get him right away. Michael Manning, you got Dudley Do right up here in the booth. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, another stunning performance where you led it from start to finish, qualified on pole, ran away from the rest of the field. We're gapping them by over half a second a lap most of the time. Geez, man, is there anything that can stop you?
Man, the BMW is just clicking. I don't know. I don't know. It's just working out. However I've been driving, it just works for the BMW. I have no other explanation, but.
Well, we had some suggestions in our chat tonight when we were talking about what would make it fair for the rest of D1. We had tie his shoelaces together, force a brake bias of 99%, turn his force feedback gain all the way to max, 2 pit stops forced with full fuel on each of them.
Okay.
What do you think of some of those suggestions?
It'd be interesting. I don't know. I really honestly still don't really understand what's going on. Why? I mean, it's just this car. Whatever happened. But honestly, one of those might be fun. I've been thinking it would be so much fun to mess around on Wednesday in a writer or something, but I don't think that's a great idea.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure to watch you be at the top of the sport like this, and it's not all the car, man. I mean, you're obviously doing a lot of practice, like you said last week, a lot of laps. You're putting the work in, and fantastic job. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're up here on the top step?
I'll shout out Jason this time, specifically because he got angry when I didn't last time, and he wants it. So there you go. Mr. Sir had he recovered. His wheel died midway through the race. He lost like 10 seconds.
Okay, was that what that
still managed
was?
the top 10. Yeah.
We were speculating in here because it was like, usually a wheel die takes longer to reconnect than that, but he seemed like he jumped right back in.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, I lost force feedback. Like his wheel was just going straight, and then 10 seconds later, he's like, oh, it's fine, and then just drives off.
Huh.
He has a Simu cube, so God knows how that happened. But
wow,
yeah, pretty solid. Oh, congrats to Eric for getting his final D1 silver victory. Because I don't think he's keeping that tag for any longer.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that does seem. We were speculating about that too. You keep finishing like that, you're gonna be moved to gold pretty quickly.
I don't know how much the petition that he made is worth anymore. But yeah.
Those are some great shout outs, man. And how are you feeling about next week?
Indianapolis?
I believe that's correct.
It's going to be an interesting one. Kind of happy that there's a tire change because I've always, every single time I've gotten a puncture there extremely early because I'm a little too friendly with the track limits. But I think it'll be interesting. As well, the traffic will be quite interesting to look at because of how long an Indy pit stop takes combined with the tire change. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. Definitely excited.
Another fairly high speed track for the most part, so the Beamer should do well once again.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling good.
All right, man. I'll let you get back to the racetrack. Congratulations once again, and we will probably see you next time.
I hope so. Thank you for having me.
Give it up, man. There was your race winner, Michael Manning, as he continues his domination of the D1 SRA championship. Just fantastic driving out of him. And as he said, the cars just clicked, and that can happen. Somebody new to our interview booth here, if we can find him, would be Peter O'Brien, as he finished second place. Let's bring him into the chat. Peter O'Brien, you got Dudley Do right up here in the booth. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
It's fantastic, man. Fantastic result from you tonight. You were the best of the rest, as it were. It doesn't seem like anybody can touch Michael Manning, the machine, out front right now. Do you think you might have an answer for him anytime this season?
It's gonna have to be next week if it is. I don't think I have a shot of catching him anywhere except for a track where the Audi is extremely OP and the Bimmer is maybe middle of the pack. I tried my best today. I didn't want to fight through T1 and 2 with him because that was just gonna bunch us all up. So I let him go and then kind of just watched him slowly disappear.
Yeah,
off into
at times
space.
not so slowly. He was making up a gap, a gap of over half a second on some laps. It was incredible the speed that he was able to demonstrate and consistently throughout the race like that.
Yeah, we raced 34 laps, and he had a 20.5 second gap. So that's like 6 or 7 tenths a lap. Yeah,
Yep.
there was no shot I was getting anywhere near that.
Yeah.
I was just from the moment qualifying was over, I was in defense mode. I was just hoping that Jeremy would fight with Diego, and I could use Michael as a slipstream on the first lap to build a gap to them, so they couldn't slipstream me.
Yeah.
And it worked out about as well as it could have, honestly.
Yeah, good strategy and overall fantastic race, man. You had some very, very good, consistent pace. It does look like, yeah, we completed 32 laps tonight.
Oh,
so
you took
yeah,
even worse.
yeah, so that's even worse. He was making, but no, again, back to you. I mean, it's a great race for you tonight and some good points for your guys' team. I know the Audi can be not so great at some tracks, so it seems like it did pretty well. You and Jordan both finishing in the top 10. Some good points for the team, huh?
Yeah, really, that's all we were looking for today. Looking at the team champ, which I always tend to do before the race. Seeing how Michael's driving. It's really just can me and Jordan both outscore Mr. Sir, and we did that today. So I think that's really all we could ask for. Jordan's kind of new to the Audi, so I'm trying to help get him to where he needs to be. But it's just good to see him slowly figuring out the car and able to put down some good laps.
Yeah, fantastic job from both of you. As I said, the Audi can be a tricky beast, but once you get in the groove, looks like you guys have found it. Put down some great speed. And while you're up here, anybody you want to shout out in the chat?
Yeah, let's first of all, I want to thank you for being here and seemingly streaming by yourself. I feel bad for you now.
No, Maxie was here with me the whole time.
Okay,
No,
good,
Maxie was
good.
with me all night. He had to jump out early for the interviews, so I said, "Oh, that's all right. I'll take care of the interviews."
Okay, good. That scared me. Want to thank all the admins. Definitely want to thank my teammates, Jordan, Jeremy, Eric. I want Javier to come back. He's just gone. I don't know where he went. Can you come back, Mom? We miss you. Yeah. Other than that, just want to say thanks for being here tonight and doing the stream, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to watch you guys race. Looking forward to next week. What do you think about Indy?
Great track for the Audi. I'm a little worried about how they're gonna bop us though. After last season in the Lambo where I was just consistently smacked with 40 kg, I'm a little worried that I'm gonna get smacked with 40 kg next week. But I think either way, the Audi will be a good pick, regardless of how much weight they give it. It's a fun car to drive there.
Awesome, man. Well, look forward to it. Hopefully, we will see you up here next week as well.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. I'll move you back to the race chat. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too, man.
All right. That was your second place finisher, Peter O'Brien. As he mentioned, he didn't really feel like he was going to hold a candle to Manning, but he was the best of the rest and did a great job. Really consistent run. He and his teammate scored some great points. And we're going to take a little departure. Instead of just interviewing third place, we're going to get over and get our first place silver driver, as we specifically requested. We want to get some of our silver drivers up here in the booth after the race chat. And let's see if we can bring them in. Eric Marecki, you got Dudley Do right here in the booth. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you guys hear me?
I can hear you great, man. It's just me here. Maxie had to take off a little bit early tonight, but appreciate you stopping by, taking time to talk with me. And hey, man, seemed like a fantastic win for the silver division. Finishing 5th overall. Really successful race for you tonight. Tell us what it looked like from your end.
Well, I pit on lap 1. I was the first car in the pits, so I knew I was just going to have open air. And I have a hard enough time with this track. that I don't need to do it in the dark following a bunch of cars. So my strategy from the very beginning was I'm going to pit as early as I can. If there's somebody in front of me, I'm jumping in the pits and I'm going to try to get open air. And that's what I did. I pretty much hot lapped it the whole race, which made me not have to worry about running into anybody. So I was able to run my pace, save the tires a little bit, put the TC on 2, and just cruise.
Well, it paid off for you, man. Fantastic. I mean, many people seem to be threatening you ain't silver no more kind of talk. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Well, I started a petition. It didn't go too well. A couple of people signed it, but most people were like, good riddance. So I noticed that nobody I raced with signed it. I started a petition to stay in silver.
Yeah.
But,
I thought I saw that bouncing around the D1 chat.
well, move me to gold. I'm ready. Bring on moaning.
Yeah, right. Do you think anybody's got an answer for the Manning machine?
No, I don't really think so. And no. Oh, well, maybe. I don't. I don't for sure. I don't know all the other guys' talents to the nth degree, so I know I don't have a chance.
Well, it's pretty incredible to watch all of you guys, the way you perform out there. You had a fantastic race tonight. And while you're up here in the booth, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
My wife might still be awake, but I'm going to say hi, I love you, and thanks for not being too annoyed at the amount of practice I've been putting in.
Fantastic shout out, man. Oh, that's terrific. What are your thoughts about Indy next week?
Well, Indy was the first race I ever won in D2,